In this video, you'll discover how to run a group coaching session. So if you're ready to break the time for money trap of one-on-one coaching so that you make the impact and experience the freedom you desire, then this video is for you. My name is Peter Scott. I'm the founder of Fearless Coach Academy, where we've trained over 1,000 coaches on how to launch and scale their coaching business to 6 figures and beyond. So let's dive right in. Step number 1 to running a group coaching session is to collect questions before the session. Yes, you could have your students show up for the call and ask questions, but what if they're not prepared? What if there's not many questions to answer? There's magic that happens to your students when you invite them, incentivize them, motivate them to submit their questions beforehand. And this is actually a really simple way to do it. Since you're going to send out an email with the Zoom link or a calendar invite to the call anyway on the day of the session, why not just include a link to a survey like Google Survey or SurveyMonkey that they can fill out and just submit their questions beforehand? Because in the beginning, if you only have 3 or 5 students on here, this is not necessary. However, as your coaching sessions grow and you've got 10 students, 15 students, 20 students or more, then you want to reward the students that prepare, and those students will get more value because instead of just showing up and winging it, they go in there with a clear thought and strategy of what they want help with. So that's step number 1, is to collect questions before you start the call. Step 2 of running these sessions is to acknowledge your students as they join. You don't want this to just be you on a soapbox talking from one to many, even if you have a small handful of students on there. You want to connect and let your students know that you see them. So as they join, acknowledge them by their name. Hey, John. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Elizabeth. Welcome to the call. Great to see you. That is a really powerful personal touch to connect with your clients. If you're not doing one-on-one calls with them, it's very easy for them to not feel seen. But when you are connecting with them on that call, you want them to feel seen because you are thinking about them in between calls. You are creating content for them. So you want to remind them that they are top of mind to you. So that's really important, is to acknowledge your students as they join the call. The third step is to set the agreements up front that maximizes the value of the call. And so I call these suggestions for excellence. The way I kick off our Fearless Coach Academy mastermind calls is that I say that there's 3 suggestions for excellence that we want you to follow to make sure you extract the value from this call. Number 1 is to get the tools. What that means is make sure to have a Google Doc or a Evernote or a Word document open so that you can take your notes during your hot seat and everyone else's. Step 2 is to get rid of distractions. Turn off social media, turn off email, put that phone out of the office or on airplane mode so that you are fully present. And then number 3 is let's get into state. This point of the day, people's energy is down, or they're tired, or they are battling the challenges of the day. You want to leave that stuff behind, close the door, and be fully present, energized, and in state for these next 60 or 90 minutes. So those are what you do in terms of setting the agreements up front on the call. Step 4 of running group sessions is to start with the wins. I always start with what win has happened, big or small, over the last week or 2. And I want each student to not say it out loud just because of the number of students we have on calls, but to type it in the chat. So you can simply say something like, while you're on Zoom, let's go ahead and take a moment to celebrate our wins. What is one win in this that has happened for you over the last week or 2? Go ahead and comment the win in the chat and include the letter W for win so I can easily read it. That way you see all of these wins and you celebrate and you start the call on a positive focus. Remember, these students are bringing their stresses, their frustrations, their overwhelm into this call. You want them to refocus their energy on what's going great, so then they're in a clear state of mind and they're coachable instead of closed. After you started with wins, then you want to make any important announcements. Now, the reason why I wait to do this until this portion of the call is because not every student shows up in the first 30 seconds. Sometimes people straggle on and join the call a minute later, 2 minutes later, even 5 or 10 minutes later. So by this point, you're 5 or 10 minutes into the call. Now you can make the announcements to ensure you have the maximum number of students there. So I don't start with announcements in the first 60 seconds because maybe not everyone's on the call yet. And again, an announcement could be, you offering an additional training or uploading a new training site or bringing in a speaker that's going to, speak to the group call next week. Whatever those announcements are you want to make. Then you want to start the hot seat coaching with pre-submitted questions. So again, everyone will get access to you, hopefully, on this group coaching call. However, you want to prioritize the ones that submitted their questions beforehand or prepared. So what I will let them know is I'll say, okay, we're going to start with hot seats. I got 3 submissions before. We're going to start with Elizabeth, John, and Ryan. Let's go with you, Elizabeth. You submit your question first, and then I'll read the question and go right into coach mode with her. This tells the students to be prepared for the next call. And then what I will do is I will let them know if you haven't submitted your questions, but you know you have a question tonight, comment 1 in the chat, and I will go through the remainder of you in the order of the submissions that I see. So they don't have to submit their questions. They can just type 1 in the chat. And now for those students that may only be able to be on the call for 30 or 60 minutes and have to hop off early, you can give them an option, an opportunity to raise their hand and say, I'm ready, I want some support. And then you go to them and they don't have to wait in the line or in the queue. So start with the hot seat coaching with pre-submitted questions, and then invite your clients to ask questions with boundaries. So I set the boundaries of saying, I want you to ask a question that can be answered in 3 to 5 minutes, not 3 to 5 hours. Because if you get a client who's long-winded, who's sharing all these details that are irrelevant, then they're wasting everyone else's time and yours. So you want to set some boundaries there. And when you set that agreement up front, if you find that a client is going off on tangents and is not making sense, which can happen, then you want to remind them, hey, John, I just want to pause you for a moment. And I would just want to acknowledge that there's everyone else here on the call. What is your specific question or challenge that you're facing so I can help you? When you do that, it's a lot easier and it's received a lot more because you've already pre-framed them, your students, to be clear and concise in their questions. You're also going to get great questions for those that submit the questions beforehand because they don't want to write some long-winded email. There's 3 more steps to running great group coaching sessions. The 8th step is to play DJ with the questions. So when a student asks a question, I not only help that student with their question, but I chunk up and I relate it to others on the call. Amy asks a question on the call, then I acknowledge the question and I say, how many of you can relate to Amy's challenge right now? Is anyone else struggling with creating consistent leads through your Facebook ads? Yes? Okay, great. So Tom and Sarah and Elizabeth, now I'm directing and I'm addressing everyone on the call, not just Amy. That's the magic of playing DJ. So take the question and then spin it so that it helps Amy, it helps your one student, but it also applies and is relevant to everyone else. That's how you get your clients engaged in this 60 to 90 minute session. This is not something where you're just doing a line of hot seats and no one can benefit from each other's hot seats. If you've ever been to an event, think of somebody like Tony Robbins. If you've gone to Business Mastery or UPW or Date with Destiny, he does these interventions with people, one person out of a crowd of 10,000, and yet 9,900 people can relate to this intervention. It's amazing, but that's what we want to do with your hot seats. The 9th step here is to reference your curriculum for deeper training. So because you only have 3 or 5 minutes to help your students on that call, each of them, then you want to reference additional training. This is what makes group coaching programs really good. So give them some strategies, answer some questions, help clarify the challenge that they're having. And then after you add value to them on the call, point them to additional resources in your curriculum. So this presupposes that you have a membership site with training modules and resources and tools that they can use, but this magnifies the value of those coaching sessions. And then the final step is declare action steps. So once you complete your hot seat with each student, at the end, make sure to say, okay, what is the one action that you are committed to taking and that you're going to declare to this group between now and next week? And this creates accountability. And there's magic that happens because not only do you want your students to learn from you, but more importantly, you want them to apply those learnings to get results. So those are the 10 steps to running incredible group coaching sessions. Now, if you're already coaching clients one-on-one and would like help transitioning to group coaching, then comment group below and my team will share with you a video on the simplest way to transition from one-on-one to group coaching. And before I wrap up this video, I have a quick favor to ask. I recently discovered that the majority of you watching this are not subscribed to my channel. And so if you've gotten value from this video, then please click subscribe and subscribe right now so that you never miss a future video. And once you've subscribed, make sure to check out my next video, which is how to actually structure a group coaching program. We talked about how to run group coaching sessions on this call, but if you want to structure a group coaching program, then click up here in the corner, watch that video, and I'll see you in the next video. My name is Peter Scott, reminding you to be clear, act now, and fear less.